Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to a rather chilly morning in Perth, Western Australia. Following on from yesterday's video, uh, I managed to separate out, let's see if we can do this, I managed to separate out the signal cable, which is this black one here. I'll get better at this, which is this black cable here, from the power cables. Now that completely got rid of the hum that I was experiencing when the volume was set high but no music signal was passing through the preamplifier. But I'd quite like to take it another stage forward, and that is to reorganize all the internals of the amplifier so that the layout is as good as it can be. Hopefully we won't break anything, because I'd be rather annoyed at myself for doing that simply because it's a very good sounding little preamplifier, and it will probably be continued to be used as the mainstay in my second or test music room. So without further ado, we'll start taking this thing to bits and see how we go. Okay, so there we go. After removing all the screws from the back panel and the earth lead over here, and the bolts from the on the input switching relay board, everything's now freed up to a certain degree. I'm going to have to clipper out the cable ties in order to separate the wiring out and see if I can just turn the back panel through 180 degrees. So bear with me while I find my snips and we'll get on to that. So this may not work, and I might actually have to invert the base of the cabinet to move everything around, but we'll take the easy route first. I think it's about time I replace these snips, as they are starting to be not particularly sharp. And we'll see how we go. There we are. That one's good. So there we are, and it looks like there's a little bit of extra room there for the cables. So the next thing to do is just to connect the fly leads from the front panel control gently, and now we should be able to invert the back panel like that without in fact breaking anything. Always a good thing in my book. Yes, the problem for this may be, of course, that these interconnect cables are not going to be long enough. And unfortunately, there's not much I can do with that, save for moving this board over to here. But anyway, we'll see how we go. Okay, here we are. I have put the back panel back in place with a couple of screws at the moment. We now have the volume control board, sorry that's just about out of shot, the volume control board and input switching sitting above the preamp board, and the mains wiring is now well away from the preamp board. This to me seems like a better layout. It'll just now be a case of finding a way to mount this, which shouldn't really be that difficult, and then getting it all bolted back together. The cables coming from these ones the control cables coming from the front display are not that long, which means that I will have to take them across the preamp board, but they do connect, and hopefully they're only passing control signals while they're being activated, and once the button press is stopped, there's no signal being transferred through them. So I'll be back with you again once I've worked out just how to mount this all properly, and then after that's done, we'll hopefully be able to take it through to the test music room and see if we can hear any differences. Okay, so I'm going to have to desolder the signal cables going into the switching and volume control board. However, once I've done that, I should be able to mount this board vertically, sitting behind the RCA sockets, and connect the cables. So yes, so a bit of desoldering, bit of drilling of holes, which I hate doing, and then I can remount this control board in very close proximity to the actual RCA terminals here on the back, so that cuts down the signal path length, which has got to be a good thing. Yep, as you can see, this area, I'll just actually move the camera. I'll have to tidy up the mains wiring, but it just seems a sort of more logical layout to me, with the power transformer and rectifier regulator set up to one side, and all the signal stuff on the other side. So, yep, moving on. Okay, so there'll be a bit of background noise as I've powered up my soldering iron and desoldering iron. And the desoldering iron has a fan inside it, which is quite noisy, so hopefully the sound is still acceptable. Well, I've decided that the best way ahead is actually to desolder the input cable, which is hiding there. But given that I have a really bad short-term memory, I'm just going to make some notes of what goes where with regard to the colour schemes. So, input left is white, ground is yellow, and right is orange. Even noisier when it's working. Gently Bentley. And there we go, that's that cable removed. And now we'll just clear out the solder hole, so that it's easy when it comes to reassembly. And the last one looks to be fine. So there we go. I have now completely, I'll try and get it in camera, Gordon. I've now completely desoldered the input switching matrix and the volume control, as this will make it far easier for me to line up the board on the back panel and then reroute the input cables for the shortest possible path length. Just having a look at the solder work on both the main board and on this board, and it's reasonable. They haven't actually defluxed the board, and I'm out of acetone at the moment, so I will be putting it back in as it is at the moment. But at a later date I'll probably go through and clean it all out. So the next thing to do is simply to clear all these holes of excess solder. Okay, well, after quite a few hours of fiddling about and drinking coffee and thinking and doing various things, I've come up with what I think is an acceptable solution. Let me take camera in hand and move around so you can see a little better. So as you can see now, the main switch and power supply are over on the same side as the transformer, and power supplies for the main board. And here we have the relay board, which I'm going to drill some holes in the back panel and mount it covering the back of the RCA connectors, as I had them on my other preamplifiers, and that worked quite well. I will have to extend the length of one of the control cables so that it's not stretched to the max and getting close to the board, but that should be fine. And yeah, so that's where we're at the moment. Next video will hopefully have me with the whole thing back together again, and we'll take it from there. Okay, here we are after doing some measuring and drilling and so on. I have drilled 4 holes in the back. I've mounted up some screws and nuts, and on top of this I'll be mounting the relay board. Okay, well, that's me finished for today, because I'm getting a bit weary, and when I get weary I make mistakes. So as you can see, the board is mounted in the back. I haven't actually soldered in any of the input or output leads yet. The main board is back in place. I actually mounted on some rubber grommets, which the manufacturer, the original manufacturer of this item, actually floats all their PCBs by various means, and so I reasoned that a little bit of compliance between the board and its mount wouldn't go wrong. So there we are, that's it for today. Tomorrow we'll be back to finish it off, and then we get to test it.